Okay, so I'm going to show you how we could go about analyzing these slides. So I've made a sort of an Excel spreadsheet that we can start to use. And the first thing we're going to do is go through all the slides. And so I've already taken some photos of slides. You can see some are differentiated and some are not differentiated. And for each slide we have an animal, which is marked by a letter. So in this case, P is for Panoptes, K is for Komodo, and we'll have V for Varius, and T for Tristis, and an S for Scalaris. I'll give you a key for all these, so you don't have to memorize them. Then there's a number after it. That's for the individual. So P2 is the second Panoptes. So for example, this one here, if we want to analyze this slide, P2 Tib Ant, slide 4A. So I'm going to drag and drop that into ImageJ. Now you might remember ImageJ, we used it a few times in class, and it's free to download, so you should be able to just download it from this store. So I'm going to write in Panoptes for the species. It was P2. The muscle was Tib Ant, and it was slide 4. And the photo was A. So A. And so you can see this one was really differentiated. So I'm going to put a yes for differentiated. Okay, so once we have a differentiated fiber, we're going to go into this differentiated folder. So I'm going to copy these and move them into the differentiated folder here. And so you can see this date stained will give you this information too. So now we moved into this differentiated folder, and you can see there are a few columns that we want. So we've got count dark, count medium, and count light. And this is pretty self-explanatory. So we were looking at this and we were looking through some of the literature. And the literature actually had some cases where they could differentiate between dark ones, medium ones, and light ones. And in some cases we can too. In some cases you might not be able to. You can see the difference between a dark and a medium here and a light. When they're all next to each other, it's quite easy. Sometimes it's difficult. If you find it too hard, don't worry about differentiating between dark and medium. Just call them all medium. But it'd be really cool to be able to differentiate between them. Okay, so now here's our slide, and we want to do a little bit to enhance the contrast to make it easier to count. So I'm going to go Process, Filter, and Unsharp Mask. And last time I did about 10 pixels, and that seemed to work really well. And you see now the borders between the fibers becomes much sharper. I'm going to double click on this to bring it up to about 50%. And so now we can see our muscle fibers pretty well. You can go image, adjust brightness contrast, and go auto, and that almost brings it up too, and now you can really start to see the difference between these dark ones and these light ones a little bit easier too. Okay, so once we're here, I want to start the count. So I'm going to use this multi-point tool, and if I double click on it, it brings up this little point toolbox. And here I can change the color, I can change the size. It defaults to yellow small, but I find you have to have large or extra large, and I've chosen black here. And so now I can start trying to count my dark ones. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this one, 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 that one. And I'm trying to find just the real dark ones. And once I'm satisfied, I've got all the dark ones. You can see I've got a count here, 22. So I can write that down. So now I'm going to try add my counter. So I want to count a different type of cell now. So I'm going to go counter to 1. And now we might change the color. I'll go to orange maybe, so we can, oh, it doesn't matter, it changes them all. Go back to black. And now I'm going to start counting the medium ones. And so you can see the counter resets. And so now I can make sure I'm not counting the same cell twice. And I'm going to go through and count all the medium ones. And it shouldn't take you too long to get through the entire slide of counting all the medium ones. And you can see my counter over here, 21. If I go back to 0, it should show me where I was up to there. 22, 21 for these. 3, well in this case 2, is going to be my light ones. So I'm going to start that one. And there, you can see my counter. So now I can go through and count them all real quick. And it keeps track for me so I don't have to remember how many of each type I have. Once you've gone through and counted all the cells, you can then add those numbers into Excel, into here. All right, so I'll end the recording there and then I'll start a second recording for how we're going to do the diameter.